welcome back to the Home Print Studio. This week I'm showing you 5 ways that you can integrate printmaking into your existing art practice. So if you're print curious, it doesn't mean that you have to make a massive pivot in your artwork, it doesn't mean you have to buy lots of new materials or learn complex processes. I'm going to show you simple ways that you can bring the texture and mark making of print into your art. I'm Ruth and I help artists deepen their practice through hand printing at home. I make videos from my tiny little studio, shed studio in Bristol, UK. If you're interested in printmaking and home printmaking, then take a look at my instant access video courses. They're always available from my website. The link is in the description below. Or you can join my email list. That way you get all my content straight to your inbox every month. Plus you'll be the first to know about my hand printing happiness course, which is coming later in the spring. And that is a comprehensive course all about hand printing at home. So from loosening up your practice to making frameable, gallery-worthy pieces of artwork to integrating print into your existing art practice. That will be the course for you. All the links are in the description. Right, let's get started. So the first way that I like to integrate print into my artwork is actually by printing directly onto a piece, either board or canvas. Board is a bit easier because it's a harder surface. And the way I do this is I kind of literally flip around the usual way of printing, whereby you would put ink onto a hard surface and then place your paper on top and apply pressure. The way I do this is I actually put ink onto the soft, flexible surface. Here I'm using a really large plastic bag, essentially. And then I place that flexible surface with the ink on onto my harder surface, my mixed media board here, and I press onto the back, I draw onto the back with an implement. And what you're going to get here is some lovely velvety monoprint line. It's really the only way you can get these lovely velvety ragged lines. I've already done a little bit on here and I'm just going to add a little bit more. It's quite uncontrollable, which is kind of the joy of it, and it's not going to be perfect. Some of the ink's going to go on the rest of your piece, but I really like that aspect. So another way to integrate printmaking is into your sketchbooks. So I like to collage pieces of monoprint on tissue paper straight into a sketchbook. And I mean, I do have lots of these pieces, and you put them in, you prepare a book, maybe quite a few pages at a time, maybe a whole book, and you really don't need to worry about what you're going to be drawing, what you're going to be putting into the book. It's just something to react against. I mean, maybe if you know sort of vague colours that you're going to be working with, you could work on that. But here I'm just reacting. I'm reacting to the colours, the textures. It's something to work with, something to work against, and it takes away that white page syndrome, which can be really paralysing. So this is a really nice way to do that. You've already got texture to work with, you've already got colour to work with, and to a certain extent a little bit of composition as well. So I'm just adding some pencil and charcoal here. I'm working from a photograph actually, but yeah, it's a really nice thing to do, and I've got some Posca pen here as well. So if you do suffer from white page syndrome, this is a really nice way to prepare your sketchbooks. So another way to integrate in printmaking into your work is actually by collaging monoprint as a base layer onto your mixed media work or even onto paintings. So here I've got, obviously you can see I've got a drawer full of sort of monoprints on tissue paper, which is really easy to collage in. So this is actually oil paint on tissue. I've let it dry, I have kind of piles of this, but it's really useful to add lovely depth and layers straight away. It's a bit like doing the sketchbook thing, but just on a larger scale. And people won't know how you get that depth and texture in these pieces by the time you've probably painted over this and done lots of things on top of it, but it will add that lovely depth. So that's one thing to try in your mixed media pieces. So in a similar vein, I often print a printing plate. This is a dry point plate. I've printed it onto tissue. It's not always a perfect print, very rarely in fact, but what it means is I can collage that into artwork into a mixed media board. So I've got quite a good print here on tissue. I'm going to glue it into a mixed media board. Now often this is done sort of halfway through, maybe towards the end of working on a piece, because it's really quite figurative, as you can see. And I probably will work then on top of this. I'll paint on top of it, maybe more collage as well. But it's a really nice way to actually pretty much put an entire print into a mixed media board or onto a canvas as well. It's quite wrinkled here, it hasn't dried, but when it dries the wrinkles will become less and you can then work into it as well. It's a really nice thing to do with your mixed media work. And then of course you can always monoprint onto your artwork on paper. It's completely different mark making to if you're just literally drawing or painting or whatever you're doing. You're going to get lovely velvety, scratchy, ragged marks. There is a theme here, as you can tell, but monoprint is kind of one of the only ways that you can do that. So here I'm adding to a collage piece that I've already worked on. I'm adding some red. It's going to add energy, movement, bright colour. It's quite uncontrollable again, which is a really nice thing. Just takes some of the control away from you, which can be a really nice thing to do. I hope that's given you some inspiration and made you realise that you can add the beauty of print into your artwork right now. If this has piqued your interest, then join my email list and all the wait list for Hand Printing Happiness, my course coming in the spring, and you'll get monthly inspiration straight to your inbox. Thanks for watching and see you next week.